Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Margie. So good
How,
to be with you.
and you too. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. All right, let's get to it. Tell me.
Okay, so I wanted to change things up from how I normally do it because I've been noticing some recurring themes that are coming up for people. And of course, as an astrologer, they're showing up clearly in astrological language. And I thought it would be nice to translate that into relationships. The most important relationship is the relationship we have to ourselves, and also how that's mirrored to us by our relationships with other people. And so what I decided to do was look at some of the major themes that are playing out and come up with step-by-step solutions to those themes or problems that are playing out in people's lives. And so I've decided to call this series on what I'm doing is Sensational Relationships Start with You. And the recurring problem or theme that's coming up right now is balancing work and home. So if anyone's got issues with that, it can have slightly different appearances depending on what's happening in your life. It can feel like you're having a hard time juggling the work you're doing, the career, trying to get ahead, promotion, pay increase, and then balancing with that with little ones at home, and nurturing them, or nurturing an aging parent. And how do you juggle that sort of thing? It can
And
show
still
up.
nurture yourself, right?
Oh,
Like, yeah.
absolutely. So it can be, how do I nurture myself and go to work? How do I handle my own emotional sense or my own emotional body, my own needs, and having to get up and physically do something to pay the bills, right? Or it can show up in relationship form with another person. Let's say you have a job, your spouse has a job. And I'm not going to get stereotypical here, but say you're the one who has a job, you come home from work, you're shopping, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're taking care of the little ones, and the spouse who works comes rolling in around 8 o'clock in the evening, and you're starting to feel frustrated because things feel imbalanced. So this is about how to handle imbalances. Now, the theme that keeps showing up, it has something to do with home and nurturance versus being out there in the world, your career, your work, having to pay the bills. So how do we balance these two?
Okay.
And so when I look to the chart, the solution gives us 5, or possibly the 6th step if you're in partnership, there'll be a 6th step. But the first 5 steps have to do with you. Okay. And you can either solve the problem yourself, or in the 6th step, how to handle it with a partner. Okay.
Perfect.
So that's the sort of the lineup, and this will be a series on relationships. And this is why Sensational Relationships Start with You.
Perfect.
So I'm gonna list these steps.
Okay.
Okay. Step number 1, the first thing to do is to remember that this didn't just happen. If this is a recurring thing, if this has been happening for a long time, right? It took time to develop. And the reason why I bring this up is because you can relax and breathe and not react and not feel like, oh, I have this to solve this problem in 5 minutes, okay? Because it didn't occur in 5 minutes. So take a deep breath and tell yourself that the best way to solve this problem is when you're relaxed, because it took time. So wait till you have the time to have a cup of tea, or slow down, or on a weekend, or something like that. Or if it takes a few days, there's no rush. So step number 1, relax, because the problem didn't occur overnight. Okay, the next thing to do is number 2, is ask yourself if you really want to solve the problem, because you'd be surprised how many people love to relive the story of the problem that's showing up in their life, and they get some sort of benefit from it. whether that's being a victim or, whatever. There's
Trying to
actually,
control everything, whatever that is, right? Whatever. There's a
right,
payoff. Yeah.
there's a payoff. Exactly. So if the answer is yes, then that's great. You can move ahead. If it's no, I don't really want to solve the problem because I really, and it's about being honest with yourself. This is all inner work, right?
Mhm.
The world is showing us this as an opportunity for us to grow and be better about that. So the other thing is, still under number 2, if you do want to solve the problem, then get comfortable telling yourself it's okay to stretch and expand beyond what I've been before in order to find the truth in this, in order to seek wisdom, to be more than I was. So that feeling of doing something different and stretching can feel a little uncomfortable. So get ready for it. Tell
I
yourself,
like it. I like it. Relax and then stretch and expand, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, step 3. Let go of what you thought you knew to be right. You're going to have to empty your cup of preconceived knowledge and beliefs and things that you held on to, and tell yourself that allow confusion. It's all right to not know anything right now, because it's from that emptiness that we can let new stuff in. If your cup is full, right? Confucius would say, I don't want to teach someone whose cup is already full. You don't have any room for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so it may have been Confucius, but it could have been Buddha. I get them confused. Sorry.
Or Andrea.
Sorry. All right. Step 4, this is a good one. Check in and love yourself. So the reason why this is important, I like to do a little game with this. Whenever you're in a problem situation and you want to love yourself, imagine that you're a king or a queen, because back when kings and queens reigned and ruled, they knew they were divine. They felt that their sovereignty was because they and they alone were a direct lineage connection to divine source, creator, God, whatever. And in our modern day times, we know that's not just, we're all kings and queens, but we forget we're all connected to divine. And when you stop and you imagine yourself on a throne and you say to yourself, I am divine, I am connected, everything that I feel and receive, and I love myself just like a king or queen would. And I'm not saying to do it in a narcissistic way, but to do it in a healthy courageous self-love, like a lion. All right. Love yourself, because it's from that place of loving yourself, of doing anything because you love yourself first. That's when the greatest gifts come.
I like that.
And kings and queens knew they had the ability to change things. They were empowered in that love. So that's the whole feeling and theme around that. It reframes you from a point of being a victim and something's happening to I'm sitting on a throne, a seat of authority for myself and this situation. Okay, step 5. Ask for innovative, ingenious solutions to the problem, and then trust and let go. You have to let go that the solution to the problem is probably not going to come instantaneously to you, though it could after doing all 4 steps. But allowing the answer to come to you in a dream that night or the next day or over the week, right? To see, because you're empty and you're allowing new visions and inspirations and dreams and ideas to flow, then they will.
Yeah. And when we're patient with ourselves and the universe, I think things come in from a bigger perspective, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. This, again, patience is key, because we didn't create this situation overnight.
Yeah.
So it takes thoughtful step-by-step breaking down into pieces and handling each one of those pieces. And anywhere along the way here, if you can't go through with that step, say, isn't that interesting? What do I need? What's blocking me from getting to this point? And it's more self-exploration, because I'm now finally down to step 6, which is if you are in relationship with another, right? Step 1 through 5 was solving a problem in which the imbalance occurred just with yourself. But step 6 includes if you have a partner. Okay, now that partner comes in at 8 o'clock at night. You realize it's going to take several days to, or a bit of thoughtfulness to get to this point. Now it's time to have a calm and thoughtful conversation with your partner, okay? And be humble, right? At this point, you're humble because you've done all this work. And grab a pen and paper and see your partner as not just the provider of the problem, but the provider of the solution as well.
I like that.
Right? And so share your goal of wanting to solve the problem. And with pen and paper in hand, ask your partner to give and provide as many solutions as possible. So now you'll have your solutions or your partner's solutions, and allow these to marinate, right? And you'd be surprised, because most people really do want to help. If you go to a friend and say, hey, I've got a problem and I'd love it if you could listen and help me solve the problem. I mean, how many of our friends don't want to do that?
Yeah, you're right. And that could solve so many other situations. And when you break it down that simply, Andrea, so many. One,
right.
we know ourselves more, right? And we get more personal responsibility, but we're also creating the space for other people to participate with us if we're in a partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so that's my wrap up for this, astrological, and I see it showing up a lot, Margie. I don't know. Are you seeing it show up?
I am too. Yes, actually. And we can see it globally too, right? So it's not just with the individual, the micro and the macro, right? But it literally is not only our relationship with ourselves, but with other people, right? It feels very important that relationships at this time, starting with ourselves, are really looked at and dived into deeply.
Yeah, I agree, because the North Node in Cancer is about bonding and nurturing and taking care of yourself. Imagining you're a little hermit crab and you've got your shell on your back and you're home. How do you feel at home with yourself? How do you nurture yourself? Because the degree to which you can nurture yourself is the degree to which you can nurture others.
That's right.
And with the North Node in the direction, the North Node indicates the direction we want to head, the future, right? What we want to aspire to. And so that is, all of us need to take more time to nurture ourselves.
Yes, we do. Andrea, amazing as always. I'm loving this. Sensational relationships start with ourselves, right? I love it. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Okay. Thanks so much, Margie. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.